a minute to cover a topic which has gotten a lot of headlines in 2021 and discuss renewable diesel, an emerging development in the biofuel space with pretty notable implications for the US soy complex. With an increased emphasis on emissions reduction and lowering the carbon intensity of fuel production, renewable diesel is garnering a lot of attention and investment across the country. Now, first, as a point of clarification, let's cover the distinction between traditional biodiesel, which you may see referred to as fatty acid methyl ester, or FAME biodiesel, and renewable biodiesel, short for renewable hydrocarbon biodiesel. Now, smarter people than me can better articulate what distinguishes the two products from a chemistry standpoint. But really, the fundamental difference between the two products from a market standpoint is that traditional biodiesel can be blended with petroleum-based diesel fuel at blends up to 20%, while renewable diesel can be substituted whole cloth for petroleum-based diesel fuel. Now, both products are produced using similar feedstocks, things like rendered tallow and grease, used cooking oil, distiller's corn and sorghum oil, oil from camelina, a cover crop, and of course, soybean oil. Now, in traditional biodiesel production, soybean oil comprises over 50% of the volume of feedstocks used as inputs, and that same ratio holds true for renewable diesel. Now, in recent months, a number of energy companies, both biofuels producers and traditional petroleum refiners, have announced renewable diesel plants slated for construction, expansion, or the retrofitting of petroleum refineries to produce renewable diesel. These announcements have led to a surge in demand for feedstocks, and that demand has contributed to the appreciation of soybean oil prices over the last several months. Now, it's absolutely worth noting that this recent run-up in demand for soybean oil from the biofuel sector comes against the backdrop of overall supply tightness in the US soybean supply, as robust export demand and higher crush have drawn down supplies from previously very high levels. Now, moreover, when we talk about soybean oil, we have to consider the global vegetable oil complex as a whole, as the prices for the major oils, soy, sun, canola, rapeseed, and palm, all tend to move together in a price ladder. So if we zoom back out to look globally, there have been supply disruptions in these other oilseed crops. Low sunflower seed harvest in the Black Sea has prompted Ukraine to implement export quotas. Production and inventories for soybeans and canola both have been down in Canada. And Malaysian palm harvest, which is heavily reliant on foreign workers, is down as COVID restrictions on cross-border movement have limited the availability of these workers to harvest Malaysian palm oil plantations. Now, put this all together, and it's not just the US soybean complex that is tight at this time, it's the global vegetable oil complex. Since the start of the year, soybean oil prices have climbed from about 43 cents per pound to over 60 cents per pound. And actually, earlier in June, prices reached an all-time high of 72 cents per pound. Let's consider what this rapid change in soybean oil values means for the US soybean complex. Say you take 100 pounds of soybeans and crush them. That 100 pounds of soybeans will generate about 79 pounds of soybean meal and about 18 pounds of soybean oil. So on a volume basis, soybeans, when crushed, generate about 4 times as much meal as they do oil. Historically, this has meant that meal is comprised about 2/3 to 70% of the composite value of soybeans, while meal is comprised 30 to 33%. If we look back a few years, the historical average oil value share from 2014 to 2020 is about 32.5%. However, with the surging demand for soybean oil, we are seeing a fundamental shift in the value share between meal and oil. In January through March of this year, the oil value share rose to about 39%. For the April through June period, it's been closer to 45%. So as oil value to crush approaches parity with meal, the driver of soybean crush is shifting as well from meal to oil. Back to prices. Since January, soybean oil prices are up over 50%, but soybean meal prices have actually fallen by about 15% over that same period. Now, we consider the primary application of soybean oil, which is, of course, feeding livestock. This shift in crush driver is bringing more meal into the marketplace and potentially mitigating feed costs in animal production. And I bring this up because I think it really illustrates the absolute versatility of the soybean, with two distinct products, meal being a critical input to food production, and now oil playing a critical role in emissions mitigation. And the expectations are for this role to grow. The latest USDA balance sheets indicate that 9.5 billion pounds of soybean oil are being used in biofuels production this season. And with some of the early plant expansion coming online, that figure is expected to grow to 12 billion pounds next season. Clearly, this is a very exciting and pivotal time for the US soy complex. Thank you for joining, and please check out unitedsoybean.org and ussoy.org for more information on soybean markets and the ongoing work of your U.S. soybean checkup. Thank you.